Hello. Good afternoon. Any questions while we wait for maybe 2-3 people to come? Yeah.
My question is if the mind comes from past life to present life, can it also move into the future? This life itself, while I'm still alive. While I'm still alive.
Yeah.
If I'm a child, I get to know of my past life. And that is the mind of the previous life.
Yeah.
And likewise, in this lifetime itself, can I know about my future life?
Can you know about?
My future life, next life, with the same mind, where this mind will go next.
No, you don't know.
No, we don't know.
Unless you are spiritually a little bit elevated, you may not know. But your not knowing that doesn't mean it is not going. It will go. We don't remember even what we did yesterday. So
yes, because there's this question, how do we know that there is an afterlife? So how do I know that? I just have to
how
believe
do you know?
what is.
I told you yesterday, the easiest example is, can you know whether there is tomorrow? I asked this question yesterday. Right? You know? You know about tomorrow?
No, because it's just a belief that there is tomorrow, there's today,
Why?
tomorrow.
So that's the question. Why you believe?
That is what we were taught at home or at school.
That's true to some extent. Yes, but you think a little bit. For example, are you sure what time is it right now? 2:30, right?
Yes, 2:35.
So there will be 3:30 also coming up, right?
Yes.
How do you know?
By
People
the
told
watch.
you.
Yeah, we were taught that. The clock, reading the clock, reading time.
No. So it's something like that.
Yeah.
You need to ask more questions.
Okay.
But the most important thing is, there is no reason why the mind suddenly come to an end. It has been coming since from your childhood until now. It has been coming. So there is no reason that it will stop tomorrow. Why? What is the reason it should not continue? So that's one reason. Unlike the physical body, the mind is very subtle energy, and it will continue. That continue doesn't mean it will not change. It will change, but it will continue. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
गिशे लटशी दिल्ली गिशे मैं हिंदी में पूछ सकता हूँ
पूछिए
सवाल मुझे ना जी पिछले कई सालों से लगातार एक सपना आता रहा है ना जी एक सपना सेम सपना कई सालों से आता रहा है कि मैं एक बहुत ऊंची पहाड़ी पर हूँ गिरने वाला हूँ लेकिन गिरता नहीं हूँ इस तरह समझना जी
गिरता नहीं है ना
गिरता नहीं हूँ लेकिन कई सालों से यही सपना बार बार आ रहा है तो मैं इसका रीज़न ढूंढता हूँ कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है तो मैं सोचता हूँ कि पिछले जन्म का कुछ प्रभाव हो सकता है और भी ऐसी कई घटनाएं हैं ना जी जिनका मुझे मैं सोचता हूँ कि ये क्या किसका क्या रीज़न है किस कारण हो सकता है लेकिन कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है कई चीज़ें बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी लाइफ में नहीं ये तो मैं सोचता हूँ कि पिछले जन्मों के कर्मों का प्रभाव शेष होगा ऐसा कुछ
हो सकता है बिल्कुल मुझे भी ऐसे सपना आया करता था बहुत साल पहले आजकल थोड़ा कम आता है
अच्छा जी
हर ऑलमोस्ट not every night but frequently I get this dream of flying. I'm flying on the top of a mountain, then on the other side I see a green grass, then I start thinking, oh, I should go there. I fly there. Then sometimes I get this dream of flying. When I was in school, I get a dream of flying. Then I look down, my other classmates, they are playing football. So somebody kicks a football, then I was wondering whether it will touch me or not. So lot of, this is something maybe to do with the past life and also to do with your present physical state. If you have more wind energy, then you get this kind of dream, flying. So sometimes that kind of dream will come to an end if you drink hot milk before sleeping.
थोड़ा अधूरा रह गया क्वेश्चन है ये। मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि पिछले जन्मों के कर्मों का कितना प्रभाव इस लाइफ पर कितना परसेंटेज में पड़ता होगा, ये पूछना चाहता हूँ।
परसेंटेज तो हम नहीं बोल सकता है।
अच्छा जी।
Because I can't say what percentage is influenced. Percentage of this life is influenced by the past life. I cannot say in percentage, but there definitely is big influence. Again, forget about talking about past life. The things that you have done and experienced in your childhood, in this very life, that has huge influence on what you are thinking, what you are doing right now, what kind of education. So it's something like that. Similar like that.
धन्यवाद।
Okay, now we start the talk. Yeah, you can ask one question. Yeah, there's no formality. Okay, so today the good news is we are stopping at 4. There's no break. Okay, there's no break. We'll go straight up to 4. Then we stop there because I had to attend another ceremony conference. So I think that's okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Geshe Lhakdor. I think maybe it's possible to understand something about a practice of the people when I observe he or she, for example, the place where he is born, his aspect, if he's balanced, emotional balance. Just I want to say it's possible to understand something about the practice of one person, to observe he or she in his life, in this life.
Know about other person?
Yes.
Possible. Depends upon your depth of your practice. Because if your practice is very strong, then we develop all these clairvoyances of past life, clairvoyances of future life, clairvoyance of what other people are thinking, telepathy. All these are explained in Buddhism. Possibilities are there. Because the more your mind is free from pollution, more there is likelihood of seeing many things. When the mind is polluted, then there is no chance.
For example, I think where a person was born now, in a place where it's possible to practice Dharma, probably he practiced good in her past life. Is possible?
Possible. I did not get your question very clearly, but depending upon past life, for example, why you are here? Why these people are here? Something to do with past life also. And past life means not necessarily just many lives before, but in the beginning part of this life, So all this big group coming here from Spiti, they are habituated with this practice from generations. So they are doing the practice even today, right? And then in some, this is of course now there is environment, even otherwise, sometimes it is possible you are born in a totally different country, say in Africa or some other country where there is no practice of Buddhism. But somehow they watch a TV of His Holiness speaking or something else, they immediately think, oh, this is where I belong. So I myself know some people who come from Lebanon. I have a friend there also who is very interested in Buddhism. So this happens, because of your karmic connection. And some people live amidst a Buddhist community but has no interest in Buddhism. Okay. So today we'll read a little bit from the book and not so much. A little bit from the book where we left yesterday. Page 13 is where we left, right? So yesterday we read the line, the essential mind is naturally pure. Sins are the defects of the peripheral or secondary minds. In the quest for enlightenment, these defects are removed one by one from the peripheral minds. This paragraph I don't like. We need to rewrite this. Because this is written long time back. And anyway, so what he's saying is that the mind by nature is pure. It is temporarily covered by pollutions, negative emotions. So as soon as we remove the pollution, the covering, and then the mind is able to come up with its power to realize everything. So there is these possibilities of getting enlightened. So this point I want to explain to you. There is a difference between training the body and training the mind. When you train the body, the basis on which you are giving the training is body, right? Body means physical. Anything that is physical has by definition limitation, cannot make unlimited progress. For example, if you practice, say, long jump, right, and you become very well trained in it, and let us say you become the world's #1 in long jump, and you get gold medal. You are the best person in long jump. Still, if that person makes some effort, maybe a little bit more progress. But it will never come to that person that he is the world's #1 in long jump, gold medalist. He is so good that these days he is jumping from one mountain to another mountain. ऐसा होता है कि नहीं होता है? Not possible, because the basis on which you are giving the training is body. So take the example of water. Bring a cold jug of cold water and then boil it. It will become hot. Boil it, then 100 degrees centigrade, boiling point. Then what happened? Will it become hotter? What happened? It will change into vapor and disappear. So the point I'm making is, this is not the case in the case of the mind. This is another very important point that shows the possibilities of achieving enlightenment. The mind, for example, in your case also, how much study you have done already? So many years you have, still you will not say, okay, my mind is now full, there is no space. It's more than gigabyte, more than terabyte. It's gigabyte, terabyte, megabyte, kuch nahi, there's nothing. If you can make the effort, you can put as many things as you want. Right? So therefore, the more you get habituated, the more the mind becomes clearer and clearer. That is a very special quality of the mind. So it is based on that, the possibilities of becoming complete enlightenment is explained. Komsel jendu kunjen junde, that is the line in the Tibetan text. Komsel, the more you get habituated, the more it becomes clearer. So this is how you establish the possibilities of Buddhahood. Komsel jendu kunjen, you can become omniscient, jendu troops. Right? So therefore it is important to train the mind more than the body. Because the mind is, especially at the grosser level, the mind is dependent on the body. So therefore, of course, you need to do some training, some exercise to keep your body healthy. But just training the body, you can reach to, a level where you, become physically enlightened. Even when we say the body of the Buddha, because the mind is enlightened, then whatever belongs to that person also becomes enlightened. But if you train just the body, it's not possible. So, page number 13. We believe that during the present Kalpa Aeon, the incarnation of 1,000 Supreme Buddha will take place in this world. Like ourselves, these Buddhas were living beings before they attained a perfection. This is, again, very unique thing with Buddhism. This is also very inspiring. Because Buddha is not a god. He was also like you and me. And we have the story. Think about the historical Buddha. Although there are a lot of arguments, whether the Buddha we are talking about has really come or not come, there are a lot of arguments. But anyway, believe it is a historical Buddha. So the message is, the Buddha was born in a royal family, but he has his own problems. In fact, he saw the problems around. Then he went around to find the ways and means to remove the problems and difficulties, right? And thereby he got enlightened. So the meaning that it is by studying. The other day, to our Tibetan group, you were all there when you met His Holiness? You were all there? Some of you there, some of you. Okay, there His Holiness said that all these rituals and chorus you do, it's good, but it's not very important. He said, study, study. बोला था ना? हाँ, हमको नहीं बोला था, आपको बोला था. Study, study, study बोला था ना गुरुजी ने. So he said, study, study. Okay. So this is very inspiring. He was like, Buddha was like you and me. Through training, through practice, he became Buddha. These Buddhas have the power to project. Now when you become a Buddha, then you have the power to project reincarnation of their mind, body and speech into millions of forms, not just one. Millions of forms within a moment of time. Is that possible? Some of these are not easy to digest right now unless you think properly. But if you look at nature, there are many signs like that. For example, from one sun, it can spread the light everywhere, right? How this is possible?
How does that match reincarnation?
Huh?
How does that square with reincarnation? If one of the 1,000 Buddhas can project themselves into 1,000,000 beings,
Yeah.
who are those beings? The same being, the same Buddha?
It's emanations.
But if you reincarnate, you're the person who you reincarnated from.
Yeah, not necessarily a person.
But that's a
As I said, your emanation may be a piece of bread. I'm telling you, it's difficult to digest.
Why would you be a Buddha bread? What is that?
Huh?
What is a Buddha?
No, I didn't say Buddha bread. I said he can emanate a bread to alleviate the hunger of that person. You can eat it. That is not amount to eating the Buddha. It's just what he had emanated.
But it says here, reincarnations of their mind, body, and speech. Reincarnations of their mind, body, and speech. So that's not like Jesus making loaves and fishes.
Yeah. Here, yes, that's different. As I mentioned, there is a difference between reincarnation and emanation. So here he's talking about reincarnation. So reincarnation of body, speech, and mind, that's also possible.
So many from one Buddha mind.
I don't know. A mother gives birth to 20 children these days. How this is possible?
I don't know what they would be like.
No, I'm trying to figure out. For example, a mother may have 10 children, right? How this is possible? Because when the causes and conditions are there, everything is possible.
Oh, it's okay.
Something like that. But anyway, we don't have to conclude here. Just think about it. The example that I'm giving you is, for example, if I put a clean, bowl of water here, it can reflect whatever is there in the space, sun or moon or 100 stars, so long as this is pure, right? So emanations are like that. Okay? These Buddhas have the power to project reincarnations of their mind, body and the speech into millions of forms within the moment of time. Forget about millions. Can they project one reincarnation? Let us start with that. Can they project one reincarnation of the body, speech and mind? If they can do one, why not two? If they can do two, why not three?
That part's easy.
Huh?
That part is easy. The part that's not so easy is who are those other...
Acha, okay. So you accepted the first part, okay?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So who are those? They are his reincarnations.
But they'd be like triplets or quadruplets. I mean, how do they... In this room full of people...
It's a very good question, Tonight you put on the TV, I know you don't have a TV, but when we put on the TV, in that empty screen, how many things appear there?
It's still a TV. Yeah.
Right? It is like that. Not only reincarnation, if you think carefully, then your existence, my existence, anything that is existing in this world is, in a way, emanations. Not the emanation that we are talking about, but in a way. Because even according to quantum physics, and similarly in the Buddhist teachings also, the things that we think concrete, you are physically there, basically it's empty space, there's nothing much there. So how this is possible? This is a very interesting area to explore more, how this is possible. You are being able to hear the sound of Donald Trump speaking in America, being able to hear here on the TV screen, able to see him. Not only him, all his entourage members. How this is possible. So it's really something like that. So the emanation, I think, is something like that. It does the work. It appears. When the needed, when the facilitating factors are there, it appears. Many interesting things are there. For example, your mind can create so many things. I'm not talking about Buddha here. There is a story of people who meditate very strongly on one thing. For example, there is a story of a meditator who meditated himself as the tantric deity Yamantaka. With full concentration he meditated. And then Yamantaka has the buffalo's horn, right? And his meditation was so strong that he could not come out from the cave because the horns were stuck on the upper floor of the cave. Not easy to believe, right? But I'll give you many, many more examples. This is how human mind creates things. I'll tell you this story, very, very interesting story. You heard this before. In India, a teacher was teaching to his students near the water. Normally in India, open place, ashrams are there, they give teachings there. So he was teaching few students. Then when he finishes his teaching, he tells his student, okay, take this. One of his students, he says, take this and put it on my table in my living room. He says, yes, sir. He goes and then comes back with a book saying, sir, I can't go there. There is a snake lying near the foot of your table. Then Guruji says, okay, then I'll give you a mantra to chant. Chant this mantra, the snake will run away, then you can put it. So he went there chanting the mantra, but still he saw the snake. He said, Guruji, I can't go there. I chanted the mantra, it didn't help. The snake is still there. Then the Guruji said, okay, take this lamp. When he took the lamp and came closer, there was no snake, only a coil of rope. This is what I'm saying. When you don't see the reality, that student was developing fear similar to having seen an actual snake, although there is no actual snake. So, see, the power the mind can play. Many of the fears, anxieties, worries, all this created by human mind. Right? And they do this for the benefit of all living beings of worlds like ours. Each of these supreme incarnations will preach their own doctrine. See who they are, what they do. They teach. They can teach. Like as I said, Donald Trump speaks on one platform, and it goes to thousands of television channels all over the world, and they all do the work.
If a Buddha is creating a Donald in that Buddha.
Each of these supreme incarnations will preach their own doctrine and will work eternally for the salvation of all living beings. So that's why we say when you get completely enlightened, there's no death. We regard Lord Buddha or Gautama Buddha as he is also called as one of these 1000 Buddhas. He was born in a royal family in India over 2500 years ago. He was born in a royal family. In the early part of his life, he lived as a prince, but he noted instances of suffering which made him realize the human existence as precarious. He renounced his princely life and became an ascetic. So if you read his life story, he had all the needed facilities as a prince. But he wanted to see more. He was really looking for what is reality, what is there behind this fence of the kingdom. Then he saw all these sufferings and problems, old age, sickness, death, and everything. Right? From the point of view of ordinary beings, which is limited, this is the point. From the point of view of ordinary beings like us, our point of view is limited. His life was marked by 12 main events. 12 main events are his descent from the heaven called Tushita, his conception, his birth, his schooling, his marriage, his renunciation, his penance, his meditation under the Bodhi tree, right? Conquest of Mara, and then finally attainment of Buddhahood. So this is summarized for our easy understanding, the 12 deeds of the Buddha. We normally call those 12 as 12 deeds of the Buddha, meaning that these are actions that he portrayed. He was already enlightened. Anyway, the important point that I want to make you a few things. Have anybody read this book, All Path White Cloud? Huh? How many of you read the book? This is, of course, Tibetan translation. You read? All Path White Cloud, written by Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away. He's a Vietnamese, very senior Vietnamese monk. So the Hindi version and English versions also there. It's one of the best life story of the Buddha. So I'm not going to tell you, but and then in the library we translated that in Tibetan and 3 volumes. It became very famous in Tibet. Tibetans in Tibet were very happy. He said, finally we have a life story of Buddha which is easy and accessible. So when we published this book, for easier understanding of the contents of the book, I wrote few things in the beginning that I want to tell you today. What the Buddha said in that book. Buddha said, don't make discrimination between caste, family or lineage. Don't make discrimination. And he said this process of making discrimination and calling some as high, others as low, is a big mistake. That's what he said. So, and he said this became very clear to me in my meditation and thinking and analysis. And he says whether people believe or do not believe, truth is truth. You have to see the truth. This is very powerful. Truth is truth. Meaning that even if 1 million people tells a lie and 1 million people are believing in it, but it still is untrue, false. It will never become true. So you need to see the truth through your meditation reflection, and you will see the truth, of this meaninglessness of making this discrimination on the basis of caste. Second point that he was talking about was the plight of people, the suffering of people. As a young person, he was able to see many sufferings which he could not avoid, many sufferings. Now the difference between him and us is we don't see so many of those sufferings. Even if we see, we are already kind of, insensitive to those things. Or we take it for granted. Yes, murder, somebody is dying, things like that. We don't pay much attention. But he was very sensitive, very sharp. This should not happen, this is happening. And therefore he was able to clearly see the poverty of the people, sick people, and then the Brahmins exploiting the people. Today also, different classes exploit other classes. And there's nobody to complain, nobody to share this problem. Even if you share this problem to somebody so-called high, they'll not pay much attention. He saw this. And he said, always, it is always the case that those who are rich, who are powerful, who are strong, they exploit the poor people, the less privileged people, and bully them. That is what he saw. The second point I highlighted from this book. Third point that I highlighted is the importance of purifying your negative deeds of your mind. Because in that book, Siddhartha, the young man, he says that the important thing is you must purify your mind, purify the defilements of your mind through training. And it cannot be purified by washing your body in Ganga. This is very strong. Washing your body in Ganga. He says if just washing your body in the Ganga, if your negative deeds are purified, then what about those fish, other animals that live in that in Ganga the whole time? They live there. So they should be the one who is the purest and who has done the best, positive practices. Next thing that he highlighted was the way bad leaders do in the community or in the country, in the nation. And he said that these bad leaders, they are always concerned about how to remain in power, how to protect their power and strengthen it furthermore. So they have only this motivation, and they don't think at all in removing the sufferings of the poor people, the ordinary people. And what these so-called leaders do in between amongst themselves is that they always try to manipulate each other, exploit each other so that they remain higher, and therefore there's no stability in politics. It's always volatile and changing. By seeing this, his wish to find the path for complete liberation become much, much stronger by seeing the futility of what people are doing who are in power, who have the power. And then the next important, this I liked very much, was, next point that I highlighted was your service to the community, social service to the community, is very much dependent upon your mental peace. He made this point by seeing the wholehearted, dedication and social service that Yashodhara, his wife, queen, was doing. And Buddha had commented there, and she is such a good woman that always doing something for other people. But he was at the same time concerned. She is working very, very hard, but unless she purifies her mind, she will not reach those higher spiritual levels. And she might get burned out, things like that. So that's another point that he mentioned. And he mentions by saying that Yashodhara is not just enjoying the wealth that she has, but always looking after the sick and poor people. So he was highly moved. However, he says, although this way of social service is a very, very powerful, important one, but the real human problems and hardships does not arise because of the social status and because of being afflicted by certain diseases, but it's primarily dependent upon your mental state, which is the source of all other problems. So, in order to be able to do a proper, continuous social service, one has to cultivate one's own peace of mind. And the next point that he mentioned, which I highlighted here, is you should not be satisfied with the prevailing social customs. Instead, you should engage in contemplation and meditation. This is another very important point, because as we ask about this question about past and future lives, we primarily follow the prevailing custom and tradition. He said, don't be satisfied with that. Because his focus was to get liberated from craving and grasping, to get liberated from unnecessary doubt and misconceptions. That was his main focus. So therefore he used to ask this question to himself all the time. Why people just follow one text, a particular custom, particular tradition, particular text? And why they are scared of doing meditation and contemplation? Why they are fearful of the peace that comes from meditation and contemplation? This is true. Many people fear. Right? And he says the peace that you get through contemplation and meditation is totally different from the fleeting pleasures that you get from attachment and other afflictive emotions. Because this kind of meditation and contemplation nourishes your body and, more importantly, facilitates you on the path to enlightenment. The next point that I highlighted was, by maintaining mindfulness, you should be able to look after yourself. In other words, look after yourself, take care of yourself by maintaining, cultivating mindfulness. अपने आप को अगर देखभाल करना है तो mindfulness से tenshi ten रंगोरंग तो चाहिए. And he says, the path that I found is a path where for every day, every hour, or whatever time is available, I try to remain in the present moment and stay on the state of one's body, mind, and maintain my mindfulness. And what is opposite to mindfulness is forgetfulness. So if we let our mind remain distracted and forgetful, then you will not even know that you are alive. You will move around like a zombie, but you don't even know that you are alive. You know you are alive? How do you know? I'm walking. And you will not even know that you are alive, and you will not be able to gain a complete idea about your own life situation. So therefore, if you really want to keep in touch with your own life and find your life, then don't let your mind lost in the past, or don't let your mind plan for the future. Live in the present. right now, what you're doing. Next point that I highlighted was, in Buddhism it is never said that human life is just suffering. Many people think, oh, Buddha said life is suffering. Buddha said life has suffering. Buddha did not say that life is just suffering. So this is also taught in this book by saying, the Buddha said, yes, it is true that there is a lot of suffering in human life, but there are many amazing, wonderful things in human life also. But if you let yourself completely fall into the sensual pleasures, then it will do a lot of harm to your body, to your mind, and there is no benefit at all. But if you don't let yourself controlled by craving and grasping, and without letting your mind controlled by grasping and craving, and if you lead a simple life, convenient, simple life, then based on that, you will be able to see many amazing things in your life. These are like very, very important teachings. Because when we are confronted or surrounded by a host of material things, let us say you call yourself a rich man or a powerful person, you are surrounded by 20, 30 servants and 10 cars and this and that. You start thinking that I own this, I'm master, I'm powerful, I'm leader, but actually you are slave to all those things. You have to worry about all these things. And when your mind has to focus on all these things, where is the time for you to understand the reality, your own life? So if you lead a more simple, convenient life, in Tibetan we say Rodi Dode, easy to go, easy to live, जाने वक्त भी ज़्यादा छोड़ने के लिए नहीं है, हाँ, ज़्यादा उठाने के लिए भी नहीं है, then it's easy, right? The difficulty with us as ordinary person is whatever we have, we definitely have craving and attachment. It's not like the bodhisattvas. The bodhisattvas like His Holiness, they may have so many things, but they have no attachment. So it's okay for them, it's good, because they can give. They never think this is for me, I can't use it, okay, ye mera hai, kisi ko nahi dikhana hai. Nahi hai na? So it's good for them. Now in our case, when we have, we get obsessed with it. Just like the rats, collecting everything in their place. Right? So the less you have, the more you are free. That is not to say that you don't need anything. Yes, you need. You are an ordinary person. You need certain facilities. But not more than what is necessary. Right? And then he says, in general, this youthful body, which may be beautiful, handsome, but it is like any other object. It is born and it will, degenerate and disappear. When you are young, you may be one of the most beautiful women, girl or young boy, but when you grow old, actually when you grow old, the beauty goes inside. So don't think you are not beautiful when you are old women. The beauty goes inside, steals inside, because you have more experience. And then similarly, the name, the popularity, the wealth, they're all similar. They will all change, they will all degenerate, they will all disappear. But the peace, mental peace that you get through meditational practice, the bliss, the joy that you get through meditational practice, this will induce the ultimate peace, ultimate happiness, which thieves cannot steal, robbers cannot rob. The external material possessions, like a gold earring, if you put a gold earring, these days very dangerous. There may be somebody ready to pull that. I've seen many people who lost their gold chain, chain snatching. है ना दिल्ली वगैरह में. So, क्या करेंगे? So therefore decorate your mind, not so much of your body. So therefore, you should not remain distracted. You shouldn't. The number one important thing for your success in practice is don't get distracted to small, fleeting pleasures. And don't remain in laziness. Don't remain lazy. If you want to achieve those spiritual heights, don't get distracted. Focus, pay attention, be aware, alert. Enjoy also. Enjoy. Okay? And then don't let yourself overpowered by laziness. Now, laziness means what? There are many types of laziness. Number one, laziness is, as we normally understand, it means not doing anything, that is laziness. Second is attachment to inferior things. Where there is an opportunity to read the teaching, Buddhist teaching, instead of that, if you do something inferior, that's also called laziness. Third laziness is looking down upon yourself. Yeah, this is very important, this Buddhist teaching is very important, but I can't do this. I don't understand. Many people do that excuses. I can't understand. उसने परिश्रम कुछ भी नहीं किया, फिर बोलता है मेरे समझ में नहीं आ रहा. थोड़ा कुछ तो परिश्रम करो तब आएगा ना. Without making any effort, you say, I will not be able to understand. That means you don't show interest. But if you don't show interest, who is going to lose? Yourself, nobody else. So therefore, delight. You should be happy that I have this opportunity to get such amazing teaching. Even the scientists are these days studying Buddhism. Because at least they want to explore the reality. So therefore, you should take care of, at least you should take care of your remaining life. That is what he says. Ab jo beet gaya, kya karega zyada. And value yourself. He says, value yourself. It's very important. And then furthermore he says, just as lepers, people who suffer from leprosy, lepers, they rely on the warmth of the fire, heat of the fire, because the lepers, when they stay warm with the fire, it looks like it is helping them. Right? So our running after sensual objects and trying to get some pleasure is like that. It will not heal. So it will help only those who are sick a little bit, but not who are healthy. So the pleasure that we get by depending on the enjoyment of sensual pleasures will induce, because it is related to craving and grasping, it will induce suffering now and also in the future. Because it just only gives you an illusion of enjoyment or happiness. But actually it's source of suffering. So we'll explain a little bit about this when we talk about the Four Noble Truths. Then another point that he raised is, do not tightly hold on to dogma, particular philosophy or view, saying that this is the final, ultimate view. Don't. And he says, whoever you are, if you just trust and believe in one particular philosophy or doctrine and just follow that and have no openness of mind, listening to others, then you have actually lost your freedom. Freedom means that you should be open-minded. Because then that person will see his philosophy as the only correct philosophy, and rest are all wrong philosophy. And thereby he developed this narrow-minded view, and which will bring more disagreement and disharmony. And with that view will also destroy his or her precious time. Because you always spend time, to defend that view, because you have so much grasping to that. And in the worst case, this will bring the so-called holy war, Mautu. So such narrow-minded view and philosophy will bring endless disaster. So therefore, having attachment to particular philosophy is one of the greatest obstruction and hindrance to a practitioner. Because if you are caught by such a net, then that person will never be able to see the right view, or enter the door of the correct view. And then finally he also gives a teaching where he tells people how to do this spiritual practice on the path, just as a ruler rules the country. For example, he says that when you practice a correct path, and then your understanding develops, and your loving kindness and compassion also prospers, and if your wish to serve others also become stronger, then you don't have to rely on force. Then you have found the path to peace and harmony. And when you have found such a path, then there is no need to, in ordinary life, there is no need to come up with the laws of punishing people, imprisoning people, exploiting people, confiscating the wealth of people. All these things will not arise. So similarly, a politician, at the time when a politician develops loving kindness in his mind and develops similar understanding, then he will naturally help poor people. He will help those people who are suffering. He will help those who are exploited. And such leader, such person, will be able to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. And that such leaders will also then try not to confront other country, other nation with arms and emanations. And instead he will modify the way to run the country properly. So things like that. It's a very beautiful text. I've just highlighted few points there, okay? Okay, now let us speak a little bit about, if you read the Buddha's life story, there are so many books. And if you read just, let us say, one part of the Buddha's life story, how many problems he had faced in his life because of the conflicts going on, disagreement about different kings, political interference, all those were there, part of his life. But he always maintained peace and harmony. So, as requested, let me now speak a little bit about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So when the Buddha got enlightened, he was requested to share his wisdom. Buddha did not right away give the teaching. He said, I found something which is profound, peaceful, free from fabrication, clear light, unconditioned. To whomever I teach it, nobody will understand it. So leave me in peace. Leave me in peace. Let me continue my meditation. He did not teach for several weeks. 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks. After his enlightenment, for 7 weeks he did not teach. He was requested few times, he did not teach. And he was right. What he found was profound, peaceful, unconditioned, clear light, things like that. So therefore it's really difficult to understand, especially when you talk about the ultimate nature of the mind, emptiness, things like that. They are profound, difficult to understand. That's also true. And he also said this so that people really show keen interest, seriousness in understanding his teaching. Right? So when you listen to the teaching, there should be sincerity, seriousness. And then finally when he started teaching, first teaching that he gave us, teaching on the Four Noble Truth. And he taught this teaching on the Four Noble Truth because that is what he saw on a deeper level or on an ordinary level. On an ordinary level, although he was a prince, but he had this freedom to go around and watch the farmers. And he saw the farmers, cultivating the land, gathering some crop this year. Sometimes they are successful, sometimes there is improper rain, not successful, had a lot of problem. Next year also they does the same thing. Next year also does cycle of existence, samsara. On a very ordinary level, this is samsara. That is what he saw with his naked eyes. Then the stronger, animals and birds killing the smaller ones. Also he saw. He was observing all this. As I said, he was very, very sensitive and observant to everything that is happening around. His teaching comes from his life's experience of the nature. So we should also do that. Don't just read books and say yes, yes. We should also see what is happening. Kya ho raha hai? Hai na? So then what he saw was people have a lot of suffering. People didn't like suffering. And people wanted happiness. People didn't want suffering, but they are getting a lot of it. People want happiness, but they are not getting much of it. So that is what he saw. And then he said, okay, if people want suffering, people don't want suffering, then suffering also should have cause and condition. If they don't want suffering, they should find out the cause and condition of suffering, reduce it, then there will be less suffering. If they want happiness, happiness also comes from cause and condition. So instead of saying, I want happiness, find out the cause and condition for happiness, produce it, you will have happiness, you will have peace. So everything is cause and condition. So that is his teaching, famous teaching. The law of causality, the law of karma that he taught there. It's very, very profound. It can be explained on a very grosser level and also very, very profound, deeper level. Right? So the Four Noble Truth is suffering, cause of suffering. Happiness, cause of happiness. That is Four Noble Truth. Right? So therefore, when he first gave the teaching on the Four Noble Truth, he said, suffering should be known. He's telling us, you should know the suffering. Do we know the suffering? We have the suffering, we don't know the suffering. We have suffering, but we don't know suffering very well. So he said, the first teaching that he gave us, Dungeshe Pracha, suffering should be known. Origin of suffering should be eliminated. Kunjung Pawarcha. Cessation should be actualized. And path should be meditated. That is called the first round of teaching on the Four Noble Truth. suffering should be known, because you don't like suffering, so origin of suffering should be eliminated. It's not enough to eliminate the origin of suffering and know the suffering, but you should also gain that happiness. So therefore he said, cessation should be actualized. Cessation should be actualized means the state of cessation of suffering, that is happiness. That should be actualized. You should have it. Now you will not have it by saying that I will have it. In order to get that, you have to meditate on the path. Right? So even before this cycle of teaching, he said, it almost looks like he's pointing to his own body or your body, something like that. This is true suffering, this is true origin of suffering, this is true cessation, this is true path. I made a little bit mistake. So that was the first cycle of teaching. This is means he's pointing to our psychophysical aggregate. It is here. This is true suffering. This is true origin of suffering. This is true cessation. This is true path. As seen by the superior beings. Then the second round of teaching, he says, suffering should be known, origin of suffering should be eliminated, and cessation should be actualized, and path should be meditated. Then on the third cycle of teaching, he said, although suffering should be known, but there is nothing to know. Although suffering should be known, there is nothing to know. Although origin of suffering should be eliminated, but there is nothing to eliminate. Although cessation should be actualized, but there is nothing to actualize. Although the path must be meditated, but there is nothing to meditate. So that means it has two levels of meaning. One level of meaning is when you become Buddha, then there is no suffering to know, no origin of suffering to be eliminated, no cessation to be actualized, no path to be meditated. When you are completely enlightened, you don't have to do this. That's one meaning. Second meaning is, although suffering should be known, but there is no suffering that exists from its own side. There is no origin of suffering which exists from its own side. There is no cessation existing from its own side. There is no path existing from its own side. That means all the Four Noble Truths, they are dependent on multiplicity of causes and conditions. They are also impermanent, changing. Even in the case of a permanent truth, like the true cessation, Godin, said to be permanent, but still it is designated by the mind. So there's nothing existing from its own side. If there's anything existing from its own side, then there's nothing we can do. But thank God it's not like that. They don't exist permanently or from their own side, so you can change it. Right? So then, when we explain those in more detail, then under true suffering, how many types of sufferings are there? Physical suffering, mental suffering, or the four sufferings: sufferings of birth, sufferings of aging, suffering of sickness, and suffering of death. Suffering of death, we know it is suffering. Suffering of aging, a little bit difficult to understand. We are aging every day, but we don't see it as suffering, right? Therefore, one master says, Gepa keji ong beta tuchigla yungna sentame. That means it is good that this aging comes slowly and unnoticingly. If there is an onslaught of aging, you will die of heart attack. For example, if you go to bed tonight and sleep, and tomorrow morning you wake up as an old woman with white hair and wrinkled, faces, you will die of heart attack. So the only good thing is, it comes slowly, unnoticingly. But the bad side is, because it comes slowly, unnoticingly, you don't pay attention. Right? And then the suffering, birth is suffering. Birth is suffering. But most of us, we don't take birth as suffering. We say happy birthday. We celebrate birthday, right? Happy birthday. Buddha said suffering birthday. Who is right? Buddha, of course, as always, Buddha is right. Because if birth is happiness, then when the child first is, when for the first time the child is born, he should come out smiling and laughing, not crying. He comes out crying. Right? So think about all these levels a little bit deeper. Suffering of birth, suffering of aging, suffering of sickness. Now suffering of sickness, for example. Suffering of aging, suffering of even birth. All these are dependent upon our karma, our activities. And then particularly in today's world, suffering of sickness is very much dependent on how we live, what you eat. क्या क्या खाता है हम लोग? सब डाल देता है मुंह में. We throw everything into the mouth. All this packaged food, rotten fruit juices, pay a lot of money and then drink it. We are killing ourselves. And to kill ourselves, we have to pay money to the business people. क्या पागलपन है ना? So at least if you don't buy these useless things, you will save money at least. On the one hand, we said, I'm shortage of money, I have no money. But on the other hand, you are spending your money for all these commodities, which is killing you, which is suffocating the earth, which is polluting the rivers. Right? Right or wrong? All these things that is flooding in the market, I would say 50-60% are not fit for use. Right? So therefore, as a result of undertaking such Buddhist practice or study, you should implement how to lead a healthy life. That's very important. All right. Then finally suffering of death. So we should focus more on the suffering of sickness. Almost all of us probably have one or the other illness, sickness. Is that true? So now you should see why this sickness is there. Don't just sit there, मेरे पास ये सिर दर्द बहुत सालों से है बोल के मत बैठो. Find out the causes. There may be some kind of food habit which is not good for your body. Change it. And do some experiment, Because you paid money and bought something doesn't mean you have to eat it. If it's not good for your health, give it to someone else. You can experiment it. If you get, for example, around in the evening you get some headache or something, this may be the result of something that you ate in the morning. So experiment. And I sometimes do that kind of experiment. I am able to locate it. Yes, this is the one. Then I give it away, throw it away, whatever. Right? Then drinking more water instead of other things. Drinking more water, it will make your blood thin. All this you should practice. Because I'm more interested in this kind of things than about nirvana, enlightenment, where people may not have much idea. Okay. So then when he taught this, the fourth noble truth. The first noble truth of suffering I explained a little bit. Then the true origin of suffering. The origin or the cause of suffering is your unhealthy actions. Contaminated actions, I call it. This unhealthy, wrong, contaminated action comes because of negative emotion. ignorance primarily. So therefore you need to study and lessen this ignorance, lessen these negative emotions, and then negative actions will not be there, and then there will be no suffering, or less suffering at least. Kunjung. Then third noble truth is cessation, which means nirvana, which is a state where all the afflicted emotions and sufferings have ceased. Cessation. State where negative emotions have ceased. Seeds of negative emotions have ceased. When you have no negative emotion, no seed of negative emotion, total peace. For example, in a day, you will have more peace. Will you have more peace if you get angry, or more peace if there's less anger? Yeah, when we talk about true cessation, we should have some idea what does it mean. So it's saying if you have none of these negative emotions, you will be happier. Physically, you will be healthier. So as an example, in a day, as I was saying, if you have less attachment, you will be happier. Less anger, you will be happier. So already you get in some kind of glimpse of true cessation. है ना? समझ में आ रहा है? क्या समझा? सर कुछ नहीं समझा, ऐसा नहीं ना? You want to be a beautiful lady? Then don't get angry. Get angry like this. Really, you can use your imagination, intelligence. You will see so many benefits of removing these negative emotions. You can save a lot of money. You will remain healthier. In this life I am talking. And that will of course lead to a better future life also, definitely, 100% sure. So I have been saying repeatedly, Buddhism must make sense in today's world. नहीं तो क्या होगा? पोथी पर जागमुआ पंडित हुआ ना कोई, ढाई अक्षर प्रेम का परे तो पंडित हो ही बोलता है ना? बोलता है ना, तो प्रेम का बोलता है ना, नहीं तो पढ़ के कुछ नहीं मिलता. It has to make impact in this very life. And that impact will be there if you practice it a little bit, if not much, at least a little bit. Lessen your anger a little bit, lessen your grasping a little bit, greed a little bit. You will be happier actually. Much, much happier. And when you don't reflect, then you don't know. But if you reflect, for example, in my case, I'm a refugee, Tibetan refugee. I left my country when I was a little child, We have to leave everything behind. Then in Nepal, we started begging. I was a little kid. My mother used to go for begging. I used to go with her. So like that, we encountered numerous problems. But still, I'm nothing, but there are Tibetans who remained in Chinese prison for 17, 20 years. Still they were able to maintain their sanity. How did this happen? Because of Buddhist teaching. And I had the privilege of meeting many top Tibetan prisoners who came from Tibet, and I was able to help them translate, for some journalists and things like that. And these journalists who were interviewing them were surprised. They could not believe the resilience these people had, remaining in 20 years and still maintaining the sanity, still intact. And you may or may not have heard the story of one of the senior monk from Namgyal monastery, who His Holiness knew in Tibet. Then His Holiness escaped, but this monk could not escape. Later on he was imprisoned for, I think, 20 years. We call him Lobunla. He is a bent bag and always smiling, sick and bent bag. So I helped him a few times to go to hospital and interpret something. So His Holiness one day in his teaching shared his, discussion with Lobunla. So His Holiness asked him, since you have been in the Chinese prison for so many years, on numerous occasions you must have suffered much. You must have faced some difficulties. He said, yes, I faced difficulties. Then his soldiers thought it must be the difficulty of his life, risk of his life. Then he said, no. His soldiers asked, is that so? No. Then what? The risk of losing compassion to the Chinese torturers. Because he was meditating on compassion. He was thinking, okay, they are torturing me. It's okay, but they are committing negative deeds, whose result they have to experience. So he was feeling a lot of compassion towards them. But sometimes the torturing was so heavy that he was facing the risk of losing compassion. That was his concern. I mean, it's not true with all the Tibetans. Some Tibetans, when they hear the name of a Chinese army, they would immediately, their cheeks will start shaking. But there are people who like that, So it really helps you when you have problem, when you have difficulty. It will help. If you have these inner resources to pull out, you are fine. If you have nothing inside, and all the external things, your father will die, mother will die, this is the way it is. है ना? सब जाएंगे एक एक करके. फिर क्या करेंगे? अभी तक तो जो बाहर है उसी पर निर्भर है ना तुम. ये मेरा मोटा है, इसमें कार है, इसमें निर्भर है, ये मेरा मकान है, इस पर निर्भर है, ये मेरा पति इस पर निर्भर है. वो तो सब चले जाएगा बाहर का. Number one, what is outside of you, you have no control, whoever they are. However loving they are, you have no control over them. Then second reality is they will go. And if they go and you are still alive, what will you do? If you have no inner resources to pull out, हाय मैं तो मर गया, सब चला गया. बोलता है ना, यही तो बोलता है ना हम लोग. है ना? So therefore the Buddha said, self is the protector of the self, no one else can be the protector. उसके आगे भी सुन लो. He said, self is the enemy of the self, no one else can be the enemy. So you are your own master, you are your own enemy, meaning that it is up to you what you want to do. So choice is yours, right? Since you want happiness, since you want long-lasting happiness, so there's no other choice but to do the right thing. Right? So focus more on positive things, healthy things. Right? Okay. Then what? True cessation. Then true path. True path means the path of the three trainings. Three training means Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. Morality, concentration, wisdom. That is the path. I mean, the way the Buddha taught is really amazing. So out of these three, the most important thing or the foundation is morality. If you don't have morality, don't have ethics, you can't build any of these bigger spiritual constructions. Wisdom, Prajna. Panya बोलता है ना, पाली में पanya बोलता है, कैसे बोलते हैं? Prajna. ठीक है ना? So that means, Samadhi means if you live a pure life, not harming. Shila means not harming others. Shila means helping others. Shila means doing the good things. Tikpachiya mijashin, geva phizum sobacha, rangi semne yonso, dina sanjitama. You know that line? Tikpachiya mijashin. Shingiwe? Good. The seniors know, the juniors don't know. Tikpachiya mijashin. Don't do anything that is negative. Do everything that is positive. Completely transform your mind. This is my teaching. So this is Shila. Shila. Shila means not observing a discipline imposed upon you by external force. It's not Shila. Shila, morality means not harming others. Morality means helping others. Morality means collecting positive qualities. And if you have that as the foundation, then you have no regret, nothing to hide, no need to practice duplicity, and your mind will remain calm. Your mind is calm, you can concentrate. When your mind is calm, you can analyze, you can develop wisdom. So therefore morality is said to be the foundation of all your higher practices. So that's the path. Right? And out of these three, the one that really directly cuts the ignorance is wisdom, understanding shunyata. But in order to reach that level, you need to also have these three. Why these three are necessary? Morality, concentration, wisdom. If somebody has to cut a big tree, then the person who is going to cut the tree, his physical health should be good, number one. So morality is like the physical health. If the person's physical health is not good, he will not be able to pick up the axe and cut the tree. Overall health of that person, morality is like the overall health of that person. Now even if the overall health of that person is in general good, but the arm by which one is to pick up the axe, if that arm is diseased, thin and weak, then he will not be able to cut the tree. So the arm should be strong, because when you hit the tree with the axe, the arm should be strong and steady. If your arm is steady, you will hit at the same spot and quickly cut the tree. If your arm is not strong, sometimes you hit up, sometimes you hit down. Then you can't. So the concentration is like the steady arm, strong arm. Now even if your overall health is good, you have strong arm, but the axe which you're using is blunt, फिर तो जितना भी मारो कुछ भी असर नहीं होगा, है ना? So the axe should be sharp. So wisdom is like that sharp axe, which can then quickly cut the tree. So therefore these three are necessary. Right? So this is the path. This is Four Noble Truth, briefly speaking. Okay? Few questions? Or maybe 2 or 3 questions. It's already nearing 4. 1 or 2 questions if you have. Then tomorrow I'll explain a little bit about the Eight Noble Path, Arya Ashtangik Mark, and then a little bit about meditation and mindfulness. Okay? Any questions? Either. Mike.
You just told about casteism. So I have this query that in our Buddhism, usually, what I have witnessed is that many of the esteemed leaders like His Holiness or any Rinpoche, they mostly are born in a family that are not caste. They don't belong to any caste, like lower caste especially. So why is it so?
Because of the situation of the people. Situation of the people is such that they respect the higher ones. So if you're born in a higher family, there's more possibility to reach out. If you're born in a very poor family, it's more difficult. Probably. That's number one reason. If the reincarnation is a genuine one, I think it is like that. If the reincarnation is a false one, then still you are born in a good family, because powerful families have the capacity to choose somebody that they can use. But it's not always true. There are many great lamas who are born in poor family.
Poor family there is, but like they don't belong to caste families. Usually
caste actually, in Tibetan society, there's not much emphasis on caste. Caste is more of a Indian thing. And therefore Buddha was against Rigmuso, Ryumuso, Drupaso. It's not the caste, it's not the family, but it's practice which is important. That is what Buddha said.
But you know, especially in Spiti, so though I belong to Spiti, I have like more knowledge about Spiti. In Spiti, people usually believe in caste system still, though they follow the Buddhism, but they still follow the casteism. And yesterday I was having some discussion with somebody, and I was telling him that in Buddhism there is no caste. But then he argued with me with this point, like if there is no caste, why our leaders not born in that family? Because we also believe in deities also, like Allah. And some la they possess the body.
No,
they enter the body of caste people, है ना?
No, that's what I'm saying. There are two possibilities. One, in the case of genuine reincarnation, the reason they're born in a higher family is so that there's. I mean, you have to do in accordance with the prevailing situation. क्या करूँ फिर लाचार है, मजबूर है. If you're born in a lower family, nobody will pay attention to you. In the case of genuine ones, in the case of fake ones, the lower caste people have no power. Those who have the power, they pick up somebody saying this is high reincarnation, then gather money. Ram Nam Japna, Primal Apna, way, bas. Aur kuch nahi. Really, I think like that. But the important thing is, now with this regard, these things are like, that's what I'm saying, that I read from these books, that there should not be division based on caste. Honestly speaking, the one who really belongs to the lower caste is who bully, actually, who exploit. They are kind of lower caste, who engage in all negativity. They should be treated, whether you call them lower caste or upper caste, but you should treat them as the kind of outcast of the society, remnants of the society. They should be regarded. Those who do good things, whether they belong to this, that caste, whatever, these are designated by people, but you should really regard them. I mean, for example, this notion, if you're born in a lower caste, you can't drink from the same water. What? You can drink from the same water with a cow and not with another human being. As I was saying, everything is designated by human mind, and then we don't have the knowledge and the courage to go against it, then we follow sheepishly the prevailing situation. That's the problem. You have to change it slowly. I'm not saying you have to fight, that will not solve the problem, but if you gradually change the attitude, like His Holiness, every time he goes to Ladakh, he sits with the lower caste and beat the drum. Because in Ladakh, normally the others don't touch it, again with the lower caste. So in order to remove this unnecessary, discrimination, His Holiness sits with them, then he says, okay, now I also become lower caste by beating the drum. Right? So another thing is the so-called lower caste people, they are less privileged, always. Give more education to them. When you become educated, you become a leader, you get money, nobody will ask you about your caste. You see? In Tibetan we have a saying, Njeva gala dogzi. Njeva means when you have fallen already, then somebody will come and again give you a kick. You're already fallen, number one. Number two, others will also give you a kick. So like that, if you have this name or lower caste, and plus you have no education, no money, then people will unfortunately, look down upon you. So empower them with education, whether it's lower caste or whether women, empower them, give them platform. In Spiti, like how many educated women are there? You should give platform to women, other women. There are many, I think there are many educated ones, but normally the platform is taken by the male speakers. Do you see many women speakers speaking from the platform? Do you see?
No.
Less, yeah, maybe, but less. So you should give them opportunity. Sonam Samo is giving a talk tomorrow. put her on the platform. Then all of you should come and listen. Then say, oh, she gives such a wonderful talk. Then gradually other young people, men, they will also start coming. This is how you seize the opportunity. It's not just saying bad things or fighting. You seize the opportunity. Right? Okay, next question, last question.
I have to ask one more question.
Yeah.
Since you also since you also talk about ignorance,
yeah.
I have this query that we in our spiti we used to say that when a child make a mistake, if he, in fact in Indian law also we have this, that if a child kills a person, he is exempted from punishment.
Yeah.
So it is basically the philosophy behind this is like child are ignorant, so we have to forgive. They have not much understanding. But similarly, there are some adults, like even in caste system, there are some adults who cannot understand the whole concept of why we have to prohibit it, this caste system. So they are ignorant.
Yes.
But then when they make some casteist remark on some people ignorantly, still they accumulate their bad karmas, or is it like they are exempted from this?
That's why, as I mentioned yesterday, hate the sin, not the sinner. Make a distinction between the wrongdoing and the wrongdoer. The wrongdoer should be excused and say, okay, it's your ignorance, understandable, but please don't repeat this. You have to teach them. Now the process of teaching may vary from state to state, country to country, on many of these things we have no control, So that is different, but wherever you have the control, you should